네, 안녕하세요. 저는 스파크랩의 이한주입니다. 오늘 제가 소개할 분은 인도에서 오셨어요. 뭄바이. 저도 뭉바이를 굉장히 자주 가는데 뭉바이를 사람들이 맥시멈 시티라고 그러거든요. 정말 극과 극을 달리는 도시입니다. 또 근데 이분은 라시미 반살은 그 인도에서 굉장히 그 엔트레프니어들에 대해서 스타트업들에 대해서 굉장히 많은 책을 쓰셨어요. 처음 쓰신 책이 이거고요. Stay hungry, stay foolish. 이 말은 다 잘 아시죠? 스티브 잡스가 한 말이죠. Stay hungry, stay foolish. 그 젊은 엔트레프니어들이 어떤 경험을 했는지를 쓰셨고 지금 제일 마지막에 새로 나온 책은 작년에 쓰신 Arise and Awake. 한국어로 번역이 됐는데요. 취업보다 스타트업이라는 주제를 갖고 특히 대학생들이 스타트업을 하는 경험을 10개의 기업들을 이렇게 관찰을 하시면서 그들의 경험을 담은 책입니다. 그래서 우선 나오셔서 한 10분 동안 프레젠테이션을 하시고 그 다음에 저하고 같이 대담을 하는 형식으로 진행하겠습니다. Okay, I want to invite Rashmi to the stage. Give her a big round of applause.
Thank you. Namaste, Korea. 안녕하세요. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm not from the Silicon Valley. I'm from India. It's a country, ancient civilization, very similar to Korea. I want to first of all congratulate each and every one of you sitting here who is an artist or an entrepreneur. How many of you are artists? And how many of you are entrepreneurs? I'm sure many of you. But I want to ask you a question, that when you went to your family, you went to your father, your mother and said, hey, I want to do something really different. I want to start my own company. Did they appreciate it and say, wow, that's a wonderful thing to do? Did your parents say that to you? Did anybody say it? No? Yeah, that's the same in India. If my father wanted me to be a doctor or an engineer, you know, I was very good in studies, and he said, surely you can pass the entrance exam and join a very good college and get a good degree, get a good job. So I think in the Indian and Korean culture, it's very common that as soon as a child is born, the parents have planned the future of the child, what he or she will do. But today there are people like you and me and many others who are thinking differently. So I call them as the stay hungry, stay foolish generation. I think because you are hungry to do something more than what is normal. And you're foolish because anybody who tries to start something new or different, the world calls that person foolish. Isn't it the case? So you're all hungry and foolish. That's why you're attending this conference. And this is also the title of my first book. Of course, I was inspired by the speech given by Steve Jobs. But the most important thing is that today, these hungry and foolish people, they're not just in the Silicon Valley, but they're in Mumbai, they're in Seoul, they're in every part of the world. I just want to tell you how my journey began. My dream was to be a writer. And it started with a very small idea that I want to see my name published in the newspaper called Times of India. It's a very big newspaper. And I was a college student at that time. I was 17 years old. But I wrote the article and I posted it to the editor. After 1 week, I got an envelope with a rejection slip saying that he cannot publish my article because of lack of space. So every week for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I tried to get my article published, and I got the rejection slip. So at this time, you know, I could have either taken this as a sign that I'm no good at writing, or in my case, I just got very angry and I got this challenge in my mind that I want to prove myself. And so I kept writing an article and posting it to the editor of Times of India until after 40 attempts on the 41st try, this article was published. And this was my beginning as a writer, for which I got 100 rupees payment, very small amount. But I think this is the lesson for all of us who are either entrepreneurs or artists, that even if people outside reject us, we have to believe in ourselves. And even if we fail many times, we have to keep trying. Well, after my graduation, I actually went to a very prestigious business school in India called as IIM Ahmedabad, which is like Harvard Business School of India. But after completing the course, I decided I don't want to take up a job in Citibank or in the McKinsey company. I want to start my own company. So when I was 24 years old, I started this magazine, Just Another Magazine. It was a print magazine for the youth. And we started it with very little money, only with the idea and a lot of passion and enthusiasm. So this was something quite successful and popular. But in 2010, when everything started becoming mobile and digital, the magazine started making a loss. So I had to reinvent myself. And my new career now is I'm an author. So I write these stories, the inspiring stories of Indian entrepreneurs who have started on their own. So I know in Korea also there are a few big business houses, famous companies like LG, Samsung. In India also in the past, mostly the business was managed by a few big companies. But now, for the last 15 years, we have a whole new breed of entrepreneurs who are not having money, they're not having a lot of connections, but they have a good idea and they have the passion to do something. So all my books are the stories of these people and how they have come forward, how they have made their company successful. And they're different kinds of people. I mean, some are the women entrepreneurs, some are the entrepreneurs even in the Dharavi Slum. If you've seen the movie Slumdog Millionaire, you would not know that actually in that place, which looks so poor and so dirty, but there are people who have a lot of spirit of enterprise. So all my books feature these stories. And yeah, I think basically ordinary people are capable of extraordinary things. That's the message that I have to give. And I think although successful entrepreneurs make a lot of money, the actual goal is not to make money, but to create something, to make a difference. And this is one such entrepreneur featured in one of my books. Also, many people believe that they should have a management degree or business degree to do business, but some of my stories are about people who actually are the school dropouts, who cannot speak English well, who've not ever had benefit of good education, but they're very street smart. So this is one such story of a person who started as a street vendor. He was selling the rice pancakes called dosa, and today he has a chain of restaurants. He has 33 restaurants all over India and also in the Middle East and Australia. So I just want to tell you that the Indian way of thinking, which perhaps is different from what is in other parts of the world, is to be creative with less resources. So we call it as the Jugaad innovation. You know, you don't have a lot of, maybe you don't have a good laboratory, I don't have a lot of funding, but still I can do something, I can do an innovation. And there are also people who are trying to solve the social problems through entrepreneurship. This is an organization which is actually serving the lunch meal to more than 1.5 million children all over India. And to do this, they had to do some very interesting innovations. This is a chapati machine. I don't know if you have ever eaten chapati. It's a flat bread. And this machine, it can make 40,000 chapatis in 1 hour. It's actually very difficult to make it by hand. It's not possible. And they could not afford to go to UK and make a very complicated machine. So they have innovated using their own knowledge, their own trial and error method, and come up with this innovation. So I think the common points, which it doesn't matter whether you're in India or in Korea, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a creative person, these are the 3 things that I've found after interviewing more than 200 people for my books. And that is the purpose, the passion, and the perseverance. And most important is perseverance, because today I think many of us look at Facebook and other such very big companies, and we think that maybe we can get success very quickly and easily, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. But I think most companies take 8 to 10 years to grow and develop, just like you plant a seed in the soil, and then it takes time to grow into a beautiful tree. There is a process, and it is a struggle, it is difficult, but still the hungry and foolish people enjoy that journey. And I think that's really the message I want to leave you with. This is my book, which is for the student entrepreneurs, because I think that the younger you start, the more you can achieve. And this is a Korean version which has been published. So I wish you all the best for whatever your idea is, to do something different, meaningful, and have a very exciting journey as you take your startup ahead. Thank you very much.
So we're gonna set up some chairs, and we're gonna have a nice chat. And while we're waiting, maybe I'll just start right off.
Yes.
Right? So you talked about family. I think both in Korean culture and Indian culture, families are very important, and they have a great influence on your decisions. And I think, unlike Silicon Valley or in some of the other Western cultures in Asia, what your mom and dad say still hold a lot of sway. Is that changing in India?
Yeah, it is changing slowly. But of course, it's still very common for the parents to object to the children doing something different. So I think generally one of 2 or 3 things happens. Sometimes the young people, they start the company, they don't even tell their parents what they're doing. And one of the entrepreneurs in my book, his father found out when he read an article in the newspaper that, oh, my son is doing this. So I think, of course, we do give a lot of respect and importance to parents, but sometimes they really can't understand what you are doing. It's difficult for them to understand that you're building a mobile app, or what is the service or product you're really bringing out. So if you believe that you want to do something, you just have to go ahead and do it. And over time, they accept what you're doing. So
seeking approval from parents is not something that you would advise to the entrepreneurs? Oh, you can speak your mind.
Yeah, well, I think you have to be a bit rebellious to, create your own path in life.
Right, right.
So it's not that you want to hurt them, but it's a new way of living which they don't understand yet.
Great. So I think there's a great interest in India as a country, and especially for a lot of the entrepreneurs in Korea. They're looking for a bigger market, because Korea, frankly, is with 50 million people. I think they're seeking a bigger market. So a lot of people are going to Indonesia. I think some people are now tapping India. What advice do you have for Korean entrepreneurs wanting to tap into the potential of India?
I think, yes, India is a very big opportunity for Korean entrepreneurs. And I think Korea has a good brand name in India because of presence of some companies like LG and Samsung and Hyundai, which came about 20 years ago. And every Indian home almost has some product of these companies. So we do understand that Korea means good quality. I think you have to see that India is not one big country. It's actually many different regions and very diverse countries. So you can't go to every part of the country. You have to first see which is your best market where you can enter easily. Maybe you should try to have some local collaboration. Maybe there are a lot of accelerator and incubator programs which also invite the foreign entrepreneurs to come and, be part of it. So if you come and spend some time in India, you will better understand what are the opportunities. Just, reading on Google is not enough.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you have to experience the, the country. And there are a lot of positive things about India, but of course, some things may be shocking also for you.
So, for example, like which cities would you recommend? Maybe there is not a city, maybe.
Well, I mean, the big cities are Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi. That's where most of the startup action is happening. But also a lot of interesting things happening in smaller towns. I think the future is in the smaller towns where the cost is less and where there is a lot of good trained manpower and you can maybe have a more efficient business.
Right, like Pune, for example.
Yeah, Pune is a good city. Ahmedabad, Surat. Yeah, these are good cities.
Great.
Jaipur.
Yeah, it's a big country. I mean, there are a lot of people, a lot of opportunities.
I believe it's 33 times the size of Korea, I was told.
So
there are 33 Koreas in one country.
Right,
we have 16 official languages. But most people in business speak English, that's not a problem.
And you've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, right? And you've been writing about them for some time now. Have you observed any evolution or change in the Indian entrepreneurs over the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years?
Yeah, well, in some of the big technical institutes like the IITs and IIMs, we have a number of students starting off right after graduating college. They don't take up a job. They start straight away, or they start with 1 or 2 years experience. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs between the age of 20 and 30. Some of them have no experience, but I really think that entrepreneurship, you have to learn by doing. So even if you get 10 years experience, sometimes it doesn't really help. There are more angel investors, there are more incubators, accelerators, but if you really want to do something, you don't rely on all those things. You just do it anyway, and I think that's what is happening. A lot of, like we have something called a startup village in the Kerala state, which is incubating 500 startups. And they're all young startups. They're from the local engineering colleges.
Right.
In fact, the state government has recognized this, and they're giving the students relaxation in attending classes if they start a company, because it's difficult to manage your studies and company at the same time.
State.
Yeah. But Kerala doesn't have any jobs.
Right.
They all go to Dubai for job. So the government wanted to create some job opportunities for people. And so I think it's younger and younger people are actually entering entrepreneurship, and that's a good trend.
Well, what about, you yourself went to IIM, which is, it's a great school, right? India Institute of Management, or IIT for that matter. Those guys gotta be fine no matter what. But what about other schools? What about the other classes of people? Is this entrepreneurship really truly sport of the elite, or do you think that this is for everybody?
I think it's for everybody. Sometimes it's actually, when you don't have any option, that's the best option for you. I've met students who didn't get a job because they failed and, they didn't pass the exam, and then they said, what do I do? So there is one student who actually learned open source Linux, and he has started his company. He has 50 employees, and he has clients in Nigeria and Netherlands, and So I think the internet is a very big opportunity. You can learn anything that you really want to learn, and you can collaborate with people in different countries and teach yourself whatever you want.
Right.
So I don't think the colleges actually teach you how to be an entrepreneur, even how to do coding very well. That's all things you have to learn on your own.
And you mentioned in your talk something very interesting, which is it takes a long time. And I think it is okay to take a long time. you know, if you read the newspapers these days, I mean, you know, it almost feels like you have to make $1 billion company like right now, and if you don't, then you know you're doing something wrong. But you know that perseverance and you know and then the grit to get over the challenges, I think that's really important. And what I want to ask you is, you know, of all the entrepreneurs that you met, anybody stick out in your mind that kind of fits this kind of profile, who's just grinding it out?
I think everybody has done
Everybody's
this,
grinding
right?
it out?
Yeah,
Right, okay,
everybody's
good.
done it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why these kind of forums also are important, because here you meet like-minded people. And this is why people want to actually be in the co-working space or incubator, because they're surrounded by others who can support them.
Right.
And yeah, it helps you along the way. But for example, there is in one of my books, especially social entrepreneurs, they have to really work for a long time to make an impact.
Okay.
It's not easy to change social habits or social problems. So for example, there is you know, an organization called Shauchalaya in India. They run the public toilets. And this is a big problem in our country till today. We don't have enough toilets. But this organization is working from 1970. And I don't think they've still covered the whole of India, but they're
Right.
still working. And you know, it's a mission for them. So it could take your whole life, you know, to establish or do what you want to do.
Good. So we have about 4 minutes left, and I want to open up give the audience a chance to ask questions. 그냥 한국말로 물어보셔도 제가 번역을 할게요. 혹시 궁금하신 점 그냥 손 들고. Anyone? Anyone? This is very common in Korea, where nobody asks questions, right? You guys know everything, right? So therefore, 저기 한 분 계시네요. And of course, it's not a Korean.
Hi, my name is Fernanda. I'm from Brazil. We have a lot of things that we believe that is in common with India, the lack of, you know, women in business. I would like to ask you, from your experience, why we don't see as many women as men in entrepreneurship?
As many
women?
Women.
Like as female founders, as male
yeah.
founders?
Yeah, I wrote a book about this. One of my books is about women entrepreneurs. I find that around the world, it's basically social, it's the way we've been conditioned from childhood maybe, the social pressures. Even yesterday when I went to Startup Accelerator in Korea, I could not see where any woman founder of the company. And similar in India. I think what I find is women always struggle with this problem of raising the family and having a career at the same time. And many of them choose to, you know, not have a very intense kind of a career which will take all their time and energy. So maybe that is one of the reasons. I think there are more young women who would like to take it up, but sometimes they're not in the technical field or they don't have enough role models. I think role models are very important. If we have a few people whom we can look up to and say, okay, I want to be like her, then I will move ahead. So now we do have some role models like Sheryl Sandberg in Silicon Valley, but then we need the role model in Seoul and in Mumbai also. We do have women entrepreneurs in Mumbai, but not as many. I mean, they would be like 5 or 10% of the total.
Yeah.
But over time, it's always a question of how do I balance my life. Like there are a lot of men I've met who tell me they don't know the age of their children also because they're so busy in their job or in their, you know, business.
Right.
But I mean, which woman wants to live a life like that?
I certainly don't, and you know, I think it's going to change, though, right? I mean, it's changing. It takes a long time. There's a lot of you know, certain biases built into the society and into the system that doesn't allow, or the women themselves don't allow themselves to go out there and do the kind of things. But
yeah, but I think it'll change when the men change, not just the women.
Well, I disagree.
That's
I disagree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I have to disagree because as an entrepreneur, what she said, I'm going to hold you to it. No matter what challenges that you face, you got to grind it out, right? And I think that's one of the challenges. I mean, you can't expect the society to change for you. You got to change it.
Okay.
But I think that's we're going to the same place. The time's up. But so I just want to give you the last word. Any last parting thoughts?
Okay, well, I just have one message. Stay hungry, stay foolish, and just dream big and make it happen for yourself. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. That was good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You did a very good job.
And remember, this is so, you know.